Now, all of us have been through many paradigm shifts in our life. Let's take a moment to look at that for ourselves, and that might help us really get this idea. Right? When something shifts in our lives. Like an example, I rented, lived with my parents, then rented for many, many years, and then I purchased a condo in Denver a number of years ago. And I went from someone who rented to someone who owned a condo. My perception of things radically shifted. Instead of just dealing with the apartment as it was, I ripped up the carpet, I put new flooring in. Like I had different ownership of this home here. Right? That was a paradigm shift for me of going from a tenant to someone who owned their own condo. And then a few years later, I rented it, and I went to becoming a landlord. Right? Each one of those steps was a different world for me. Each one of us has that in so many places in our lives, often provoked by some type of external thing and shift in our lives. We graduate from something. We enter a new job, become married. All these different kind of monumental moments in our lives, we take on a new perception of ourselves and the world. That also happens internally in many different ways. As Becky said, I've had the blessing of, over the last number of years of traveling around the world with Sai Maa, where I've been continually confronted with my limited paradigm that I live in. I mean continually. Day to day, moment to moment. Oh, this is the way it is. I was like, really? Is that the way it is? Oh, this is the way. Really? And again, it got to the point where there's this like flexibility and malleability that I know, oh, whatever I'm experiencing, perceiving, is probably limited, and there's a more expanded way to perceive this. And just started to become open to that. Open to that. Open to that. And that happens on a lot of layers. I'll give you just a brief example. And so we can start to see in our lives, where are all the places where we're in a limited place, not aware of it, and then something happens and we open to it. So we can really make that quantum leap from the old to the new paradigm this weekend. As we've said, we're already there, but to shift the perception to really get that we're there. So recently, I was in Egypt, and some of you were there with me, and I see some of your faces here in the hall. And when I was there, I'm the I'm the tour manager. So I'm working with the tour guide, I'm working with the tour company, and they're doing the best that they know to serve us. They're also within their paradigm of the way things work in Egypt, and their culture, and what works and what doesn't work. And what happened is, I'm here with Sai Maa, who's totally living in this unbounded, totally fearless place, and yet within Egypt there's certain constraints around how certain things are run sometimes. Like, oh, you can't take photos of this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. So I noticed myself getting more and more into the world of, you can't do this, you can't do that, I can't take photos of someone meditating here, I can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do that. And so I found myself getting more and more constricted with a lot of reasons why I had to be that way. Because I kind of swallowed the explanations that were given me. I was like, oh yeah, I have to do that. I can't take photos here. I can't do this. I can't do that. And that just became more and more my paradigm I was in. You following me? Then, now there's a lot of moments of Ma breaking this open for me. But there was one moment after the event, I sent the photos to Ma, and Ma said, I don't feel the same energy in this full slide deck that I did the last photos you took. And I was like, that's strange. I don't know, why is that, right? And I got off the phone and I contemplated this. I was like, oh, I didn't take photos of those moments where Ma was initiating people at the sites because I thought I couldn't. Because I didn't want to get in trouble or have something happen. So I didn't take photos of certain moments that had such potent energy. So I sent a note to Ma about this. Ma said, why didn't you tell me that during the thing? We could have attended to that. And I was like, realizing that I was constricted into this paradigm of I can't. And then it unfolded a lot more from there. There's a lot more that Ma kept breaking open for me from that moment, okay?
Oh, tell us. Tell us more.
Yeah, that was the kind of, safe version to share of that. So I really got that these constraints that I take on in my paradigm come from a lot of places, right? They come from our society. They come from our environment. They come from our community. They come from our education. And Ma's like, don't live the life of other people. Don't live the limitations of other people. Why do you do that? Why are you living their limitation? You're with me. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. In some ways in our collective society of comfort of this is the way it is, Ma's this rogue agent coming in and say, wake up, people. You don't need to live the way that everyone else tells you to live. We don't need to do what everyone tells you to do. And that disrupts things. It truly disrupts things. And so, and we're talking about moving into this new paradigm, it's an act of disruption. It's not going with the comfort. It's not going with the status quo. And I can tell you, it takes some guts sometimes. It takes some courage. I had to have some conversations that were really uncomfortable for me when I got the limitation that I was living in. And through the courage in having those conversations, I broke out of it. And my entire perception and paradigm shifted. So this is what we're starting to invite you to play with in your life. I'm in a paradigm that continually shifts. And how do then I wake up to remembering that I'm in this new paradigm with Sai Maa? This is the journey we'll continue on.